scenarios of curfew, Lagos and Ekiti State joined the state's governors declaring curfew in their state after escalation of violence as Police Inspector General deploy anti-riot police officers across the nation. And federal lawmakers talk tough over federal government's approach and handling of the EndSARS protest. Senators ask President Buhari to speak to the nation. The Speaker of the House says the budget will not be signed except give some recommendations. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today Live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimberley in our Abuja studio. A third state has declared curfew after escalation of violence of the EndSARS protest. We'll be analyzing that in a short while. But let's tell you quickly that the Senate has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to address the nation as soon as possible on the EndSARS protests ongoing across the country. They formed part of the resolution of the lawmakers during their plenary today at the upper chamber of the National Assembly in Abuja. The senators want the president to urgently address Nigerians, especially the protesters, on the issues raised and appeal to all Nigerians to resort to the use of legal institutions to resolve disputes and conflicts. And in the Green Chambers, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, says he will not sign the 2021 budget if provisions are not made to compensate the families of victims of police brutality in the last decade. He disclosed this today during the House plenary session. The Speaker said that the Nigerian police is not above the laws of the land, adding that they must be accountable to the citizens.
As we endeavor to hold our nation's police to higher standards of personal and professional conduct, we must also make sure that we provide for the welfare of the men and women in uniform, to whom we assign such significant responsibilities in our collective interest. From minimum police equipment requirements through to training, everything must change. If we have to have a police force that meets our nation's needs and upholds the law of the land with integrity and professionalism. As Speaker of this House of Representatives, let me say now, for the records to reflect, and in the expectation that I will be held to account, I will not sign off on a 2021 budget that does not include adequate provisions to compensate those who have suffered violence and brutality at the hands of the police in Nigeria in the last decade. I will not sign off on a budget that does not meet the reasonable demands of the ASUU, to which government has already acceded. To the young people across Nigeria who have led this protest, whose call for change has brought about this historical moment, you are the midwives of national rebirth. You have moved the nation to action, and now you must join in doing the hard work of making it real, the vision of a more just, more prosperous, and more resilient nation. We see your true cause. Please do not allow your righteous cause to be hijacked by those with base motives, who see in this moment an opportunity to pursue vendettas, to spread division, exploit the many existing fissures that exist in our society, and bring our nation to its knees. You have raised your voices and marched to demand a better Nigeria, from Abuja to Washington, to Calgary and London. Your voices have been heard. Do not allow anybody to convince you that to withdraw from the streets now is to concede defeat. This is the time to move your agitation from the chaos of the streets to the painstaking deliberations and strategic
of the House there, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. This is very, very strong words and tough talk there. But how will this pan out for the APC-controlled National Assembly and the APC-controlled federal government? How will this pan out? We analyze this for you tonight, but let's first check out our political roundup stories.
Protesters in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, have gathered in different parts of the state, including the state secretariat entrance, Agodi, stopping the free flow of traffic in that area. The Ojo end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has also been reportedly blocked by protesters. Reports of gunshots were also heard, allegedly between security operatives and protesters. The Ojo police station is currently under threat as stray bullets reportedly killed one person, while another sustained a gunshot wound on the leg. The protesters are threatening to burn down the station. In a swift reaction to the Orile Igomu police station, the Lagos State government has announced a 24-hour curfew of all parts of the state from 4 p.m. today. In a statement signed by the governor, which reads, quote, "I have watched with shock how what began as a peaceful NSAS protest has degenerated into a monster that is threatening the well-being of our society. Lives and limbs have been lost, and miscreants are now hiding under the umbrella of these protests to unleash mayhem on our state. As a government that is alive to its responsibility and has shown a commitment to the movement End SARS, we will not watch and allow anarchy in our dear state. I therefore hereby impose a 24-hour curfew on all parts of the state as from 4 p.m. this evening, 20th October 2020. Nobody except essential service providers and first responders must be found on the streets." The NSAS protesters today stormed the city of Umuahia, blocking every junction and causing traffic gridlock. Protesters, who are mainly youths, are chanting, "SARS must go," as they drum it to the ears of everybody passing that they are tired of the police brutality and bad governance in the country. The protesters unanimously made a call to the leadership of the country at both the state and federal level to tackle issues of unemployment, ASU strike, improve economic development, welfare package of workers including the police, and warn the security to stop harassing citizens who engage in legitimate businesses to survive.
There is a moral standard expected of a police. There is a first act that subscribes or describes how a policeman should use his firearms. These bullets are not meant for Nigerian youths. These bullets are not meant for innocent Nigerian youths. These bullets are meant for terrorists in the Samita forest.
The Ogun State Governor, Dakwa Abiodun, has appointed Justice Solomon Olugbemi, retired, as chairman of the 7-man judicial panel of investigation on alleged cases of police brutalities against citizens of the state. The appointment is in line with the resolution of the National Economic Council at its meeting on Thursday.
All right, thank you so much. Let's get talking about, let's tell you that the Lagos State government has declared a 24-hour curfew across the state. The announcement was made today by the Lagos State governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, via its Twitter handle. The governor said the decision to declare the curfew came following the violence which is breaking out in some parts of the state, following activities of criminals hiding under the guise of #EndSARS protesters. And in Ekiti State, the governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, has imposed a 24-hour curfew on all parts of the state, starting from 10 p.m. tonight. The governor says only essential workers and service providers with valid means of identification are allowed to move around during the period of the curfew. But things are getting awry, and what is the way out? The Inspector General of Police has also ordered immediate nationwide deployment of anti-riot police units to protect lives and property of all Nigerians and secure critical national infrastructure across the country. The IGP has also ordered massive deployment of police operatives to strengthen security around correctional facilities nationwide. The orders are coming on the heels of increasing attacks, including acts of arson and malicious damage to public and private facilities as recorded in some states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Let's get talking, everyone. I'm being joined tonight on the program by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Social Investment and a member of the APC Board of Trustees and, of course, a member of the Caretaker Committee, Mr. Ismail Ahmed. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
How do things get out of hand? This is perhaps a major crisis on the hands of the APC government, and it's looking like it's escalating so fast.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Shaun. I think part of the things that the Right Honourable Speaker said on the floor of the House, and part of the address that the President made, is probably the same thing, capturing the fact that when the president addressed the country on this issue, he, first of all, before anything else, recognized the fact.
Has he addressed the nation?
Well, he has.
He spoke at...
That's addressing the nation. Once you speak to the people, once the president speaks, it's an address to the
because
nation.
that's a major issue, isn't it?
I'm not talking about broadcast.
No, hold let's
on.
Clarify it, because you raised an issue.
There's a difference.
There's a difference between the president addressing the nation and the president speaking on some platforms, either at FEC meeting or some other platform. Because it's part of the recommendation of the Senate that the president must address specially on this matter. Okay. And that's what I wanted you to clear. There hasn't been any presidential address, isn't it?
Allow me to talk. You want us to get to the nomenclature of what is or what is not a presidential address? I'm not talking about the presidential broadcast where there's going to be a time slotted to say the president is going to make an announcement or make a national broadcast at 7 p.m. That's not what I'm talking about. But anytime a president speaks to the nation on whatever platform, that is an addressing the country. So in the president's address, I didn't say broadcast, and I didn't say national broadcast. In the president's address on this issue, and that was an address, no matter how much how you want to look at it. In the president's address to this nation on this issue, he mentioned the fact that first and foremost, he recognized the fact that there were issues of police brutality. He condemns it. And the disbanding of SARS, because at that time, SARS has already been disbanded by the IGP of police, that the disbandment of SARS was just the first step of the so many extensive reforms that is going to go on the police, and even before that, before this issue of End SARS protest began, the president just recently, I think sometime in September, signed the Police Act of 2020 that accommodated and had as provisos most of these recommendations that were put out. So I agree with you 100% that this is one of the major crises that we have faced as a government. It's the first time that we have faced such a crisis. So many things have happened that a lot of people had tried on so many levels to try and do some sort of a street protest. This was the first time the protest has become successful. The president made sure he gave out the order to the Inspector General of Police and all security and law enforcement agencies in the beginning to make sure that they maintain law and order, protect the protesters, nobody should assault anyone, and people have the right to protest. And I think he even mentioned that yesterday when he met the Minister of Youth and Sports. Now,
so are you saying that this government has handled this situation properly?
Well, I'm not here to talk about the propriety or otherwise of how we handled it. All I'm saying is that there were things that have happened. Yes, there could have been improvement, and there could have been ways we could have done it way better and way faster than it happened. But the most important thing is that the president was right in front of it, and he said, you know what? Yes, there were police brutality. I have ordered the IGP to do the necessary things to make sure that these things are brought to book, and the officers who have meted out this injustice to, these assaults or extrajudicial killings to citizens of this country are being brought to book. And this is not an event, it's a process. Prosecution is a process. It has to happen, as time goes on.
For those who believe that the president hasn't been hands-on on some of this issue, and perhaps the manner in which they thought that it should have related with the youths, those who hold that perception or those who hold that belief, what do you tell them tonight? We're watching. I believe that the president is.
I think we're not here to talk about how the president handled the situation or not. I think we're here to talk about a situation that started off as a peaceful protest, right? And everyone, including the president and the party, recognized the fact that there were issues with police. And then everybody is clamoring for police reform. Everyone, myself inclusive, yourself inclusive, and the president agreed to that. And even the IGP said, yes, there is need for police reform, and there are so many things that we need to put. Not only police reform, people like me are always talking about law and order and accountability and justice reform all across board, not only police. There are so many things that need a lot of reformation, so many institutional reset that we need in our political system for us to be able to leap out from where we are to where we want to go. And this government, to be quite honest, not because I'm part of it, this government has been trying to do all it can to make sure that policy-wise we have been able to put these things in the right places. So I think our focus should be how a peaceful protest degenerates to what it is slowly becoming, an anarchy, absolutely chaotic.
So those who have blamed the government that they've not handled it, that it had allowed it to escalate to this point. That there's a lack of communication between the government and the young Nigerians on the street.
I think there has been quite quite a lot of communications coming from the part of government, especially from the part of the police and the part of the presidency. There are many people that have spoken. I know the ministers have spoken, the Minister of Youth have spoken. I know that the Vice President have spoken. You have just shown the Speaker of the House of Representatives speaking. The Senate President have spoken. The President has spoken. A lot of people have spoken. I think the issue. I think the issue that we had was because on the other side of the protesters, when they started, the government opened its doors, and the president said, "Look, we are willing to listen." And there was nobody coming forward to have a conversation with it because they said they have no leaders, and that gave room for other people who had other hidden agendas.
Right. Sorry, we need to go on a break. When we come back, I'll allow you to wrap up on the conversation about how the government has handled it and the way forward. It has gone really, really awry, and we'll see where we go from here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right on the program. Let's get our concluding moments with Ismail Ahmed. He's a Senior Special Assistant to the President on Social Investment and a member of the APC Committee. The way forward now is the issue. Looking at how the government handled it, perhaps the flaws in the management of the crisis, which is a major crisis since the inception of this government. But what is the way forward?
I think the way forward is that the young people need to know that this thing has degenerated into something that even the initial protesters didn't want it to be. We believe that the initial protesters started this very well. It was a peaceful protest. They wanted to have their voices heard. It was heard. Government responded to a lot of demands they made. They wanted to see action. Some of these actions were ordered by the president. I think now everybody would agree that this thing is slowly derailing into something that nobody envisaged for it to be derailed into. So this is the time now for them to pull back. If they have any representatives that they want government to talk to at some point, this is the right time to do it before we overstretch it and make the whole of this chaotic, and nobody is going to be happy for it. The president has opened the doors in his address. He said, look, this is an extensive reform. On the part of government, we as young people who are also in government are also trying to push government to see how at some point, after all this is over, down the line we can have an intergenerational equity conference where the young people who are going to be part of the future are going to be part of discussing how that future is going to be part of. And every committee that government is going to set up to look into these issues and rectify them, that there will be representatives of young people who are going to see for themselves what is going on. I think these are part of some of the concessions government are going to do on their own part, but there needs to be law and order, and that it's critical that we do that. It's critical for them to have representatives that we can talk to. You cannot talk to a mob. They are being you just mentioned the fact that about 3 states have already declared curfew. It's becoming absolutely senseless.
No, most states, we understand now that Plateau State has also declared a curfew, but I must sincerely thank you, Ismail Ahmed, President's aide on social investment, and of course, a member of the APC Caretaker Committee. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get some other views on this matter. I'm being joined on the program by a former presidential candidate, a lawyer, and an economist, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank, Professor Kingsley Moghalu. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight. How has things gone this bad? That's one of the questions a lot of people are asking themselves when they saw these protests on the streets of Nigeria, and gradually it has become something that has turned violent. And now the governments in some of the states are declaring curfew in their states. What do you think perhaps is the way out of this quagmire?
Well, thank you very much, Sean. Let me give one immediate and quick solution to the quagmire in which we find ourselves right now. There are two things. One, the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has to address the nation specifically on the End SARS movement. You should address the nation as a father to the children on the streets. You should address the nation as the president. This is leadership, not weakness. That's number one. The fact that this has not happened is one indication of the way we approach leadership in Nigeria. Number two.
Sorry, Professor Mahalu. Sorry to cut into your line of conversation. Let's take this breaking news. Breaking news right here on Channels Television. We can report to you that gunshots reported at Lekki Toll Plaza, one of the scenes of the #EndSARS protests in Lagos. Breaking news right here on Channels Television. Gunshots reported at Lekki Toll Plaza, one of the scenes of the EndSARS protests in Lagos. We're staying right here. We have reporter on the scene to give us more details as we get them. Gunshot reported at Lekki Toll Plaza, one of the scenes of the EndSARS protest in Lagos. Don't forget that 4 p.m. today, curfew has been imposed in the commercial city of Nigeria. Professor, apologies to cut in to take that story. Please continue on your line of thought.
So I was saying, first of all, that the president needs to address the nation, and that the fact that this hasn't happened is one of the indications of the approach to leadership we tend to have in Nigeria. There should be direct engagement with the people. There should be direct persuasion. There should be a direct empathy, direct connection with people over their plight. And they themselves have to feel it. You know, you can't expect them to feel whatever intentions you have when you're in Mount Olympus and they are down there on the street protesting. So that's number one. Number two, it is often the case with these types of situations that people, unscrupulous elements will always try to come in, cash in, and start creating mayhem. We saw it with the Black Lives Matter protests against police brutality in the United States and around the world. What should the government do? If the young people do not respect the curfew, I would still urge the government to use the police to protect them and serve as a wedge between peaceful protest and unscrupulous elements and hoodlums. I think if people see the police protecting the protesters, then those police people can take on hoodlums and bring them to justice, because peaceful protest is a fundamental right. So let me say very clearly about this matter of EndSARS. It is a reflection of the character of the Nigerian state, a state that has been marked by impunity, authoritarianism. It is supposed to be a democracy, but where's the voice of the youth who make up most of the population of our country? That's what's happening. This is a crisis of historical proportions. And I think anybody would be fooling himself or herself by saying to the youth, stand down, but you have not done fundamental things that address their demands. Some things have been done. Let me give you one example. And it's not because I have anything against him. It's about symbolism that shows seriousness. The Inspector General of Police should resign. This EndSARS did not start today. It is the product of a culture of impunity. And who's at the head of the force? Is he taking responsibility? That's the point. This is the sort of thing that would send a strong message to the youth and let them know that they're being heard, respected, and that their lives matter. So I would say that the president,
Prof, within the frame of the law, and as we wrap up now, there is curfew in about at least 4 states of the Federation. Now, you have asked that police should be the ones to ensure law and order. It's the same police that agitations are against in this sense. People are now defying the curfew order. How do you then handle this situation from the people's point of view right now?
Yes, that is the point I'm making, because this is a test of the security institutions of the Nigerian state. Are they there to protect the lives and property of Nigerians, or are they there to protect the regime, the government, by putting down young people by force? They should not use force against the youth. That's my position. And if there is a conflict while maintaining law, if the protesters themselves start getting violent, of course the police should do the necessary. But if they are peaceful, then the police should protect them against hoodlums who may have been instigated to come and cause trouble. That's my position, because this is a foundational issue we're dealing with.
Yeah. Professor Kingsley Moghalu, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, lawyer and economics, a former presidential candidate. Thank you indeed for talking to us tonight. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Do stay with Channel Television. The breaking news that we get in right now is that there are gunshots heard at the Lekki Toll Plaza area of Lagos Island. One of the scenes of the EndSARS protest grounds. Channel Television will be bringing you up to date on that situation. Stay with us as we follow for you some of those things you need to know, especially when you are within the curfew state. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm Sean Okimale. Bye-bye.